In March, New York City, the largest school district in the country with 1.1 million students, had lifted its long-standing ban on cell phone use in schools, as cited in NIA Today. The largest school district in the country and my high school, Wood River, have been able to figure out a way to use cell phones in schools. All schools should be allowed to use cell phones. Cell phones can be used for educational tools, to teach kids responsibility for the future, and for safety and communicational purposes. First of all, cell phones are a great educational tool when used properly. According to QuickBoost, specific apps have been designed for learning aids. Such apps can be used for dyslexic kids and other learning disabilities. Another great use for cell phones is for research. It's easier for me to pull out my cell phone instead of pulling out my computer and waiting to start up, and I know that it's easier for other kids too. NIA Today asked teachers what it was like to use cell phones during school, and all of them agreed that it helped work with the students instead of working against them. People argue that cell phones are a distraction, but Mr. Wilson, a teacher, says that all cell phones aren't more of a distraction than what they already have. Debate.org shares other uses for cell phones, such as tracking homework assignments or project assignments, and you can also use them for stopwatches during science class or as a dictionary during English class. Another great way to use cell phones during school is to take notes, or if your teacher is speaking too fast, you can record your teacher and take notes later. Or you can take a picture of the board if the notes are on the board. Cell phones use during school can also teach responsibility for the future. One way to do this is it prepares students for real-world jobs according to QuickBoost, and it teaches responsibility by showing appropriate times to use cell phones and when not to use them. As said by Debate.org, it helps students can learn how mobile technology can be used to them when they enter their professions. Another way to use cell phones by teaching them is setting up reminders, and it's like in professions because when you set up a reminder for a homework assignment, it is like setting up a reminder for a meeting. Lastly, it is important to have them at school for safety and communication purposes. As stated by the QuickBoost website, students forget projects and homework all the time at school, and it's easier to contact your parents with your cell phone by sending them a text or calling them instead of using a teacher's phone and bothering them with that. Or in situations that I have a lot, to set up appointments at lunch, and I can't drive yet, so I have to keep in contact with my parents instead of driving myself to the appointments, and I know that other students have to keep in contact with their parents, and it's easier to text or call them instead of using the teacher's phone. Another way to use cell phones to keep in contact with your parents is because students' plans change after school, and I know that parents always like to know where their kids go, so they need to keep in contact by texting or calling if your plans change, and it's a lot easier to do that if you have your cell phone. As said by Debate.org, you can if you need to contact someone that is not your parents or on your emergency contact list, the school might not have their phone number or email address, and it might be easier to have your cell phone with you because you would have it in your contacts. And in cases of extreme emergencies, you might need to call 911. So if you have your cell phone with you, you can get to that much more easily than the teacher's phone in the classroom. I think it is important for kids to have access to their cell phones during the school day for educational reasons, to learn responsibility for the future, and for safety and communication purposes. If this topic comes up for a vote, please support me and all of the students by voting yes and supporting responsible cell phone use in schools. Students using cell phones in schools is starting to become more of a trend. 70% of schools that have had a cell phone ban in the last 5 years have lifted that ban. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed.